Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Are you in the
ISAP.
faculty? Oh, I
ISAP.
said. Oh, you said.
In
Okay.
the office in ISAPs.
From your office. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No
Thank you so much
problem.
for
Budak-budak
accepting.
santai.
Thank you so much for accepting and no honorarium as well. Oh, treat you latte later.
Okay. You owe me latte.
Yeah, I owe you. Okay, guys. Kejap Ija, we are checking on this one. Breakfast already? Yes.
Belum
Yeah.
sempat breakfast. Baru lepas keluar bilik CEO ni nak tengok 9:58. Bekerja I dekat laptop ni.
Ija, do you have slides to share with us?
Yes. I'm using slides. Tapi I boleh share my screen kan?
You want to share your slide with us or?
I will share my screen. I will control the slides here.
Sure. Oh, I have problem with the Wi-Fi here. Okay, hopefully
Tapi
you can bear with us.
Kan? Because mine I pasang connect terus kat kabel ni. I set punya kabel.
Okay. Yours is okay. I think you faham lah.
It is your laptop.
Kita orang kat tengah hutan je.
Kau nak Rembau ke Kuala Pilah ke?
In Kuala Pilah. Have you been here? To Kuala Pilah? Okay.
Not
You should come one day.
Okay.
Okay, insyaAllah one day. Okay, MC, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so guys, can we start now? We have this live stream to Facebook and also to YouTube. YouTube. Okay. All right.
All right. Hi, Prof. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
I don't know whether you still know me or not, but I think I was your student previously.
Okay. Oh, really? When? Which year was that?
It was
7 years ago.
Yes, I think 6-7 years ago.
Wow. 6-7 years ago. Okay, Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Still handsome like before, kan Ija?
Yeah. I know, I feel so proud. It's like I've got many ex-students who are now colleagues. Alhamdulillah. Congratulations for joining us.
Yes, me too. I think one of my friends, I think you know Madi, right? She was your supervisor for her master in TESOL.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
All right, should we start?
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to our FPB Webinar Series 1 2022 organized by Akademi Pengajian Bahasa Kampus Kuala Pilah, Universiti Teknologi Mara UiTM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan. I'm Yadid Ashrai Hasanuddin, your moderator for today's webinar. Before we get started, I'm going to go through housekeeping matters first as a reminder. All right, so first of all, we are on 2 platforms, which are Zoom Meeting and our YouTube channel, Akademi Pengajian Bahasa UiTM Kuala Pilah. Second, kindly turn off your microphone and camera throughout the session. If you have any question during the session, you can switch on your microphone to deliver your question to the speaker if you are in the Zoom meeting, or you can type your question in the Zoom chat, in the YouTube live comment section. I'll be attending to the question during the Q&A session later. Lastly, the attendance link will be provided at the end of this webinar. For your ITM staff, training hours will be provided, as well as e-certificate for all the viewers. Before we begin our session, let me first introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar. I think most of us already know her. Professor Dr. Faiza Abdul Majid is a professor in adult and higher education at the Faculty of Education UITM. Currently, she serves as the Director of Academic Development and Management at the Institute of Continuing Education and Professional Studies, ISAP. She has received both international and national research grants and published in various index journals and book chapters, all within the areas of adult and higher education, TESOL, and professional development. At the Ministry of Higher Education level, Professor Dr. Faiza is recognized as a senior assessor in the Malaysian Quality Agency, MQA, and a master trainer in the Malaysian Higher Education Leadership Academy, ACAP, in which she develops modules and facilitates the professional growth of fellow academics across the nation. She's also one of the Ministry of Higher Education appointed research grant assessors. In terms of networking, Professor Dr. Faiza has been appointed as an academic assessor by both international and national ministry and higher education institution. She has also been invited as a keynote speaker at several international conferences and of late series of webinars. Based on her involvement and achievement in the field of adult education, Prof. Dr. Faiza was awarded the Distinguished Scientist in Adult Education by Venus International Foundation based in India 2019. On top of all that, her family and friends have known Prof. Dr. Faiza as someone who is cheerful and passionate. Married with 3 children, Prof. Dr. Faiza believes in family is always first. Traveling, dining, and reading are her favorite pastime and are best done when she is with her loved ones. Lastly, she holds to the quote, "Life as a teacher begins the day you realize that you are always a learner," by Robert John Meehan, closely to her heart. Assalamualaikum and good morning, Prof. How are you doing today?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to you, I did, and I'm doing great. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for asking.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you for being with us today, Prof. Dr. Faiza. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure by now that we really look forward to hearing what Prof. Dr. Faiza is going to share with us on our topic entitled Passion for Publication, Find Your Way Around. All right, so without further ado, I would now like to welcome our speaker for today, Professor Dr. Faiza Abdul Majid. Professor Dr. Faiza, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, our young, very fine gentleman this morning for introducing me. Yeah, I did, and I was informed that he was a student of mine, easily some 6-7 years ago. And to see that you are now one of our colleagues in UITM made me even more prouder, you know. And for that reason, I congratulate you, I did, and I am so
thank you so much
this morning to be introduced by my ex-student. Alhamdulillah. Okay.
I still remember.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not mind, you need to give me a few seconds because I need to share my screen. And hang on a minute, yeah. All right. Can you see my screen with my slide? All right, great. Alhamdulillah. Okay, there you go. Let me put this to the side.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. All right. Since I won't be able to see the participants because it was required for you to switch off your camera and also your audio during my presentation. But for those who actually know me, I am one person who actually like to have kind of a dialogue as I present, So please, by all means, if you need to ask me questions in the middle of me saying something, do not feel worried if you are inappropriate. You are very most welcome to stop me at any time, and you can pause me and ask me relevant questions. As a matter of fact, I may not have the answers. I would like to also revert those questions to the floor so that we can sort of like have kind of a discussion kind of nature in this session, in this sharing session this morning. So if that is all right with Ayedit, yeah? Okay. So now, first of all, I think I need to say this. Thank you so much to my dearest friend, Dr. Rafida. I call her Dr. Epit. She's actually a long-time friend. We grew up together. We started our TESOL journey together way back when we did our matriculation, when we just, our post-SPM era. I'm not going to tell them Epit. I'm not going to tell them which year, or they will know how old we are now. So it was post-SPM era that I met Dr. Rafida for the first time. We did our matriculation together. We did our degree in TESOL together. And then off we go with our life and got married and have children. And we bump again when we saw each other in UITM, and to our delight, we are colleagues now, So Alhamdulillah. And I take this opportunity to thank her for opening the door for me to be with all of you this morning. So it is such a pleasant, opportunity to be invited to share my knowledge, my experience, very much of experience. To say that I know a lot, like knowledge, I would have to beg to differ, because I think when it comes to publication, almost everybody would have their own experience. You don't study publication, you do. These are something that you do. You don't really study publication. So to claim that I have the knowledge, wallahu alam, I don't really think so. Whatever that I'm about to share with you is actually based on my observation and experiences as a writer myself. So please, if I were to say something which you may disagree, I beg for your pardon. At the end of the day, this is a sharing session, as what mentioned by Aidit just now, yeah. And of course, I need to also mention UITM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan. In particular, I was appointed officially by the Deputy Rector of Academic. Thank you for giving me your trust to hold these people in my hand, and to deliberate on this topic. And also thank you to the rest of you who are on this platform, no matter where you are, Perlis to Sabah, or it could also be in Nusantara, it could also be in Asia Pacific, it could be also from the whole wide world, yeah. So welcome, and thank you for your time. So I'm not going to take a lot of time doing my introduction because it was already introduced, but I think just to be fair, I'd like to share with you so that you know who I am even better. So kebetulan, coincidentally, I have this slide whenever I give talks. I think to ensure that my participants know who I am. So let me share this with you. Especially, you need to establish my credibility as the speaker this morning. So as you can see, in terms of my university services, it's not a short stint. Alhamdulillah, this is my 25th year with UITM. MashaAllah, 25 tahun dah in UITM. So 25 years already servicing in UITM. And so that is the services that I have been entrusted with, Alhamdulillah. PhD students, enjoying my 8th hooding ceremony. Tak lama lagi, I've just enjoyed the hooding ceremony last 2 weeks, and inshallah another 2 coming. And the research, as you can see over there. But what is more important that I thought would be relevant for us this morning, since we are talking about publication, since 2017, I didn't put my publication since I started writing when I joined UITM. So this is only from since 2017. Those are the books and the chapters, as well as the journal, index journal that I was able to publish. And I didn't do this alone. In fact, Dr. Rafida is one of my team member when it comes to writing. So we've got articles together. We've got a book. We've got several books together also, Dr. Rafida. and also book chapters. Okay, so I hope you're already getting one of the things that I'm going to suggest to you guys, having your buddies, your writing buddies. But I'm going to talk about that in a while. Okay, so you can, if you need to check my Scopus or my Google Scholar or even my my WOS, you can actually just Google me and you will find the relevant articles. So I'm not going to spend so much time there. Let's just move on. So guys, I hope you don't mind me addressing you guys as guys, because I like to sort of like make us feel we are colleagues, we are friends, you know, the collegiality and congeniality is there. So I hope you don't mind me addressing all of you as guys, you know, friends, you know, because I see all of us here as potential collaborators or co-authors. You know, you might be working with each other after this talk. You might get inspired to form your own writing buddies, inshallah. Yeah. So what are we going to be deliberating on this morning for the next 1 hour and a half or so is this few, as you can see the bullets there, I've got some six things I like to talk to you about. Writing and publishing, strategizing our writing, and strategize not only that we have written, we need to also strategize our publication. And when we need to strategize our publication, you need to know which journals. So we're going to talk about targeting our journals and some to-dos and not to-dos, you know, that I like to also share with you guys based on my observation and experiences, as I said, and a little bit of extra tips, some of those things that I gathered from my own attendance in relevant writing workshop or publication workshop. Okay, let's begin. Are you guys ready? Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the write. And if you need to ask me questions, as I said earlier, by all means, yeah. Okay, so number one, why is it that it is we talk about writing? To begin with, I'd like to ask all of you. We have vowed to teach in YTM. You know, for those who are working in YTM, and if you are an educator, regardless which institution you are, I'm sure the first day you reported for duty, right? There should be this form that you sign. It's called Aku Janji. You mengaku dan you berjanji. You admit and you promise. You know, those and some of the things that you actually aku dan janji would actually be related to your job scope as an educator in higher education. And being an educator in higher education is not just about going to class and teach. What is it that you bring to your class to teach must be up to date and relevant. And one way of ensuring that you are always relevant and up to date is to actually do a lot of reading. What do you read? Bukan majalah gila-gila or majalah, what do you call that? All those cosmetic or fashion kind of magazine. It's actually journals, not just any journal related to your to higher education, to education, and to your field, to your discipline, to your field of discipline. So, and hence, not only that you read, you also need to be in that community when you read those journals to update yourself to be relevant, so that when you go to class, you've got the latest info or the latest theories, or maybe the latest past findings, research findings that you want to share. It's only fair that you are also involved in that community. Among those authors would also be you. So that is why you become the writer yourself. So hence, writing becomes one of the key indicator of an efficient, or rather I would use those of a professional educator. You are actually really, what do you call that? Celebrating yourself as an educator, especially at higher education, when you actually write. What is it that you write on would be something close to your heart, your discipline. That's why it's important for you to understand what is it that you want to profess in. What would be your area? You did your degree in this, you did your master's, continuing your degree, you did master's in this, and then later you've got your PhD. So it is important for you to actually see how you have developed from your degree to your master's and to your PhD. And for those who already have your PhD, the area that you did, the research area that you did for your PhD should be the area that you profess in. And all the writings that you need to do henceforth after you've obtained your PhD by right should be to celebrate that field of area that you research on in your PhD. And of course, then you grow via interdisciplinary, or what they call now also multidisciplinary research, and when you've got buddies from different faculties and coming together so that you can write articles together. So the traits of writing to publish is not just a writing for the sake of writing. We want to write so that people can read our ideas, so that we can convey our passion about our field of knowledge. So that is why the traits of writing in order to publish so that the readers will benefit from our article is that, number one, it has to be scholar. It's a scholarly writing. So when we talk about it is a scholarly writing, it's not just any creative writing. It has a certain discourse, it has a certain format. And then for Dr. Rafida, who's into applied linguistics, she would be the right person for you to refer to when we talk about what's the discourse of an academic writing. When you write an article for journals, how do we do it? What are the format? What is the format? What do we write first? When we write the introduction, how should it be? And then when we develop into the content, and how do we conclude our article? So if you've been reading, if you have been an avid reader of several journals, or maybe you follow one or two specific journals, as you read, you become more and more aware and engaged with how articles are written to be published in that journal. So when you want to write yourself, you, inshallah, will follow that format secara tak langsung, indirectly. You are aware of, this is how I write introduction. I've been reading how people write the introduction. Catchy, and then you've got something, statistic maybe, and maybe you identify the gap in the introduction, and then maybe you also introduce the objectives of your paper in the introduction. Why you know that knowledge? Because you've been reading. So that is why it is very important that you are a reader before you could actually become a writer. There is this connection between reading and writing. And then, of course, it has to be empirical. So when you write that article to be published, it needs to be empirical. What is it that we mean by when we say empirical? So empirical is when it's something which is, academic, when it is based on good justification related to theories, related to past findings. And when you collect the data, if it is a data-driven paper, because you need to understand, there are several types of writing an article. Most majority would write data-driven, past findings. They conducted a small-scale research, for example, or maybe from a pilot study, and they just take one objective, and because one research question, and they got data, and then they report on that. So it could be like a report writing based on a research, but it could also be a review. You could actually write a review on several articles related to a topic. For example, I give an example when we talk about a review. Several articles by renowned scholars in that field. We're talking about pandemic. Let's just say teaching and learning in pandemic, and you note that there are several sifus who wrote about it and giving us some tips and whatnot. So you could write an article to review on easily 4 or 5 articles talking about how to teach in the era of pandemic or post-pandemic. Now that we are entering the post-pandemic era, people are coming back to the university and whatnot. So there you have a review of these papers. Or you can also just review a book. So that could be another article. Another one could be also a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is when you get several articles and you look at their findings, or you look at what is it that they want to convey, and you summarize that to form a new understanding, which is a bit more comprehensive, because you've got several articles that you refer to, that you amalgamate the core findings or the salient findings, and then you come up with a new, a comprehensive understanding based on that meta analysis. It's meta because it's banyak, it's a lot. So you could have a report, which is normal. You could also have a review, and you could also have a meta analysis of analytical writing. So whatever you do, there is this system on how to write it. And of course, the academic convention. And I have also gone through, at the bottom of my slide, you can see the types. I've also mentioned about conceptual. So conceptual is the fact that, if you recall, for those who did your master's or your PhD last time, you've got your conceptual framework, right? Before you go and collect the data, you need to ensure that what theories are you referring to, what's the problem, and what are the theories are you going to use to underpin your research agenda, right? First, the statement of the problem in chapter 1, right? You need to have our statement of the problem. You need to identify the gap. what is ideal and what is actually happening now. So between what is actually happening now and what is actually ideal, there are rooms for improvement. So that will be the gap. And in order for you to really address this gap, you need to be directed or guided by relevant theories. So all these theories will come and form your conceptual framework. So that conceptual framework can also be written as a paper. So when you have these ideas of merging several theories to form a potentially new theory, for example, to describe something only pertaining to the context where you are in, it may be generalized to other contexts, but that's why you need to declare the kind of context that you're looking at, when we look at the population and the kind of samples that you have, so that people can see whether they can generalize your findings or your theory or your newly formed theory for them to decide. So that could also be a potential type of writing, conceptual, meta-analysis, review, or report. Okay, guys, so far so good, yeah? Okay, next, moving on. Now, this one happens to...
So
yeah.
Good, Prof.
Okay, clear, yeah, I do. Okay, it seems to be frozen on my screen. Okay, never mind. I'm going to proceed. So, guys, what you see on the screen now is actually kebetulan, coincidentally, about a month and a half ago, Faculty of Education had this workshop on publication, and one of the speakers actually shared publishing process. And this
Yes, it's clear.
Oh, thank you, I did. Thank you.
Oh, really?
Okay, all right. This is from the ERA publication workshop, the sources. So I need to acknowledge this is not my own. This is actually taken from that workshop because he had actually shared this with us. I'm sure he doesn't mind that I'm also sharing this with you. So you can see this is the process. You need to write. It has to begin with you drafting that article. If you have not been writing any article, don't talk about publishing it. How can you start thinking about publishing it when you haven't actually started writing? So it all begins with you writing the manuscript of the article, and then you submit to the targeted journal. And when you submit to the targeted journal, they will give you a notification that they have received your manuscript, and it is being, what they call that, review at first stage. Normally, the editor will do the review to see whether it fits the nature of the journal. All right. So some manuscripts, sometimes they are rejected even before it is peer reviewed. When the editor look at it at the first time, they will look at the title, they will look at the keyword, and they read the abstract. I repeat 3 things. They look at the title, they look at the keywords, and they will read the abstract to confirm whether your manuscript is fitting their journal. All right, that the very core business of their journal is actually to talk about language education, or to talk about adult learners, or to talk about a curriculum, or to talk about instruction in primary school, early childhood, for example. And here you are giving them an article talking about teaching in higher education. Obviously, the journal will have to reject it even before submitting for peer review. So that is why there is something that I call targeting your journal as an important thing to do. Once you have drafted your manuscript, actually, before you draft your manuscript, you need to start thinking about which journal that you want to send to. So if the editor agreed to take your journal, your article, because it fits the nature of their journal, they will start sending it to the reviewers. Now, this is what we call the peer reviewing stage. And normally it's nothing less than 2 reviewers. They would have more. In fact, some very good journals will have some up to 6, 8, or 10 reviewers. I know this because I have received my articles being written, and I've got all the comments from easily 8 reviewers. And I needed to address all the comments on the suggestions given by the reviewers, all 8 or 6 or 10 of them, and then resubmit to the editor. So normally it happens once, maximum twice, where the resubmission to the editor based on the comments given by the peer editor. All right. And then the editorial board will decide whether to publish. Normally they would, because they have actually made the peer reviewer give comments, and you, the author, have made the relevant rectification based on the comments given by the reviewers. So it is by right, it's kind of a shame if you don't publish it, because you would have fulfilled, the correction, unless they detect that even the correction still need to be given more correction, then that will be the second round, and so on and so forth. So they will decide whether to publish, and when they decided, They will email you saying that congratulations, your paper will be published, but it is due in December 2022 issue or in March 2023 issue. So when you receive that email, berlapang dada lah, alhamdulillah, you have been accepted that article, just waiting for it to be published. All right. Why am I saying that the email is very important? Because some of us would be writing because it is our KPI for the research grant that we received. And assumingly that your research grant is expiring by end of the year, you need to ensure that you have fulfilled the KPI of publishing. Unfortunately, because of the sequence or the order of them publishing the article, yours will be only published assumingly March 2023, and your grant finishes December 2022. So for RMC, or in the case of UITM, we've got the Research Management Center. Should you provide that, oh yeah, I've already been accepted, but I have to wait for my turn. So inshallah, RMC would be able to accept the fact that you have achieved your KPI of publication. So that's why I said that email of notification telling you that you have been accepted, your article has been accepted, but it is due to be published in so and so issue is very important. That is already you achieving your KPI. All right. So that is the finishing line when you are informed of their decision. Okay, now that you know somewhat, that is kind of like introduction there, yeah, you can actually anticipate what's coming your way when you want to start writing. So let's start talking about strategizing our writing. So I've got all these images that I'm sharing with you. I didn't actually create this myself. These are all from the Google Images, free images. Yeah, so you can download it for free. If you need to buy, you need to buy. But this one I downloaded it from the free images. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay, guys, when we talk about writing an article, Billahi ta'ala, from the very bottom of my heart, first thing that you need to be is passionate. You need to be passionate about writing. You need to want to write because you want to write. Bukan, not because you have to write. Not because you were asked to write by your immediate superior. Not because you want to just fulfill your KPI. That is why just now, if you could recall, when I started my talk, I talk about us being an academic. I talk about aku janji. I talk about us going to class and teach. And then I talk about when you teach, you need to be relevant and up to date so that your students know that you are the right sifu for them to learn from. Or else they will say, nothing new from this lecturer. We can just Google even more updated information from this lecturer compared to what this lecturer is taking into class. So if you feel that you need to challenge yourself so that you're always ahead of time and you are updated and stuff like that, so that your students are aware that you are really knowledgeable about your area, you need to be reading a lot, and of course you need to be writing so that your students will also be citing your work. So if you look into that, yeah, you want to be a professional academic, then writing is your second nature. All right, that's why when it is your second nature, then you're passionate about it. You want to share your knowledge to a bigger community, not just to your students in the four walls of the classroom. You want to share what you are thinking. You've been studying theories, and then you thought some theories could be improved if they consider certain contexts, certain cultural values, certain logic, the logic, the geographical factor, for example. Then that's your thought. Put that down on a piece of paper. That could be your conceptual wallahu alam paper. So and then you could target the journal and send. And when it is published, people are reading your ideas, people are reading your thoughts, and that is you really the educator, the professional educator that you want to be, And it's not just about being passionate. I can also imagine, because you need to be excited, you need to be excited for the fact that you say, okay, this year I think I can come up with 4 articles. Oh, then you realize, hey, I've already achieved 4 articles. It's only June. Maybe let's just write more, another 2 or 3 articles coming your way, and stuff like that. So please be excited about writing. As much you are excited about going to class and teach your student because you want to share your knowledge, you want to also learn from your student, the same excitement must also be felt when you say, oh, I've already got 2 articles this year. Oh my God, that makes me feel so good. Why? Because I could share the little that I know on that piece of paper, on that piece of article, and people are reading it, it's published. Inshallah, people will be reading it. That is why it's very important that we have citation. That's why the H index or the Google Scholar Index is your indication of you being cited by people. All right, and be passionate, be excited. You must also believe in yourself. Guys, we are all academics here, yeah? If there are those who are students doing PhD, I can't imagine the profiling of the rest of the audience this morning. But whatever it is, when you are here listening to me, it shows writing is something that you want to do, right? Or else you won't be sitting in front of your PC looking and listening to me this morning. So that is why please believe in yourself that you can do it. Writing and publishing your work is possible. If you think that it's difficult, I don't think I can do it, that is one perception that you need to get rid of. Always believe in yourself, aim and chart your publication activity as we prosper in our career as an academic. And of course, you need to be comfortable. Be comfortable, because as I said, if writing is second nature to you, that is something that you didn't do for the sake of doing it. You do it because it's fisabilillah also at the same time, Okay, so moving on. Guys, so these are the common structure of an article, the title need to be catchy. And if I can give you some ideas already from now, when you write your title, look at your target journal and look at the sample articles that they have and look at how the titles are written. So basically, it has to be catchy. It has to reflect the nature of the journal. All right. So assuming it's early childhood education journal. So the title must state somehow words related to children. All right. Something like that. Yeah. And then it must be grammatical, obviously. Yeah? And then abstract, there are 5 aspects that you must ensure you have in the abstract. Just like what we did when we wrote our final year project, degree time, and then we did our master's research or dissertation, and our PhD for those who have done their PhD. When you write the abstract, there are 5 things. Number 1, what's the problem? What is it that you're addressing in this article? All right, what theories are you referring to? And then the methodology. How are you going to collect the data? If it is conceptual, also at the methodology, I'll show you how to do. I'll show you an example later. Methodology. So do not think only data-driven paper will have a subsection on methodology. All papers, meta-analysis, review, conceptual, you still have to have the methodology. Methodology of how you're coming up to that, what that you're suggesting in that article. If you are coming up with a conceptual, so what's the method for you to come up to that conceptual? All right, so the methodology, salient findings, to fit your objective today, the implications, sometimes it's called implication, some journals call it originality, some journals call it as novelty. In fact, when you want to submit, the abstract was written as such that you have to answer that. What's the problem? What's the methodology? What are the findings? What are the implications? And sometimes what's the originality of this work? What's the novelty of this work? So they would ask that. So you need to sort of write that down. And normally abstract is between 200 and 300 words. So keywords together after the topic, and then you've got your abstract, you need to have the keywords. Normally, I'm not saying that this is definite. Normally, common or rather common, 5 keywords would be maximum. Sometimes people give 3 keywords, but normally from my observation, 5 keywords. And you know what? For you to be able to be accepted at first level, the editor look at your title, look at your abstract, the choices of your keywords are very important. So that is why I'm suggesting to you, your keywords must be keywords that would reflect the journal. All right, that's number 1. And number 2, the keywords would be keywords that will help you later. Because later when student, macam kita dulu kan, when we want to look for articles, what we do is we key in keywords, right? So your keywords would be attracted by the system, for those who are searching for relevant article related to second language learning, for example, amongst suburban students, for example, suburban or underprivileged students. So kebetulan, coincidentally, you've got an article and one of your keyword is actually underprivileged students. So when people key in underprivileged student, your articles would pop up. and they could cite you. They could read you, and wallahu alam, maybe it leads to a better thing. They will be citing your work. So that is why it is very important that you confirm the 5 maximum keywords, not only to give the editor the impression that you are fitting their journal, but also to help you being cited when people are searching for articles related to the keywords. Okay, so far so good, guys? Yep, okay. All right. Next is introduction. Okay, here I am moving into the structure. Yeah? What you need to actually, this is one thing about me. I always tell my colleagues whenever we are working on a project and whatever not, my first question or my first suggestion to them is that I would tell them, you need to see how it's going to be. You need to see the end product. Before we even started, you need to already you must be able to see the product. So in other words, you need to already envision it. You can visualize it, you know. So that is why in writing an article, you must already see that's the introduction, there's a literature review, that's the methodology, that's the findings, and that's the conclusion. And when we come to conclusion, you want to make it, you know, you need to have like something which will be benefiting to the readers, right? And then of course the references, acknowledgement, do not forget, and then references. So let's just talk about the introduction. Guys, I'm giving you this because this is how I write. When I write an article, inshallah, this is, as I said, I'm sharing my experiences. I think at Pitt, Dr. Rafida could confirm this, yeah? Normally, do not take too long a time to finish your manuscript. If you take too long a time, like you have written the introduction and you left it for a while, and then when you come back, the momentum has actually been disturbed. You would have forgotten what ideas that you were thinking when you were writing the introduction, when you want to move to your literature review, for example. So it is best that you write the article and try to concentrate and have the draft ready within a week or 2. All right, when you start, try, because of course in between you have to stop, there's meeting, you know, in between you have to stop, there's consultation, there's industrial training that you have to go to. But you remember you have that article. Do not leave the article too long that it becomes frozen. Yes, we have cooling off period, but you leave it aside for a while, not to just cool off, but not to get it frozen, you know, if you know what I mean. So one of the things that you need to know is that, okay, if you cannot write the introduction, it's fine. You can also start with the literature review, whatever you are comfortable with. Or if you already know what to say, you can also start with conclusion, you know. So this is my technique. Sometimes I leave the introduction last because I need to see how the paper has developed so that I could write the introduction. Sometimes I also begin with conclusion because I know these are the things that I need to deliberate in the article. Again, the put dada tanya selera, you know, it's what makes you comfortable, all right? But if you are the type say, no, I need to start from A before B before C, by all means, because I also write like that. I'm not saying that I always start with conclusion first or I leave introduction last. No, I'm just saying that at times that happens because it's the ideas that's growing in your mind. But let's just talk about introduction first, right? So from my observation, introduction is not long. Maximum is 2 paragraphs. All right, about 300 to 400 words. Assuming I'm gonna, as I talk about this, I hope you will start counting the word limit, you know, because every journal will have their word limit. All right, so let's begin with the fact that we need to write some 4,000 to 6,000 words article. All right, 4,000 to 6,000 words article. So the introduction, maximum between 300-400 words, maximum 2 paragraphs. You could also have it just in 1 paragraph, but if it's too lengthy, break it up into 2 paragraphs, and this leads to the purpose of the article. And normally it will include the objectives or if you have research question. And then followed by the literature review. The literature review also, to my mind, maximum 2 pages, which is about 800 words. So what is it that you write in the literature review? Go back to your abstract just now. What's the problem? So what are the theories are you going to use to underpin your research that you're going to refer to when you want to interpret your findings later? Or when you develop the instrument, surely the instrument was based on certain theory, right? So this is where the theories need to be described. Now, guys, do not forget your keywords. Remember the 3 to 5 keywords that you have earlier? Those keywords must appear in that literature review. If you have keyword like underprivileged student, the one that I said just now, so there must be a subtopic within your literature review that describe what you mean by underprivileged students. So because readers might want to say, oh, your underprivileged is actually my privilege. Or maybe they say, oh, your underprivileged is the same with mine. I'm from India. I also see the same thing happening. So then this Indian potential author might want to cite your work. So that is why the keywords that you have, 3 to 5 keywords that you have, you must also have in your literature review. All right. So it must also include summary of past studies. So guys, remember, I've already mentioned that theories, keywords, past research findings, if it is conceptual, you need to summarize the articles that you are reading. If it is a review, very much the literature review is the bulk of your article. So you need to have a very comprehensive. Now, if it is data-driven, like a report, then literature review should be about 2 pages. If it is a review of certain theories, then of course that's the big, but it will be double this because that's the gist, that's the actual gist of your article. Okay, moving on, methodology. Okay, guys, methodology, just like literature review just now, maximum 2 pages, normally 1 page. All right, but sometimes you have tables, you've got charts, you've got illustration, right? Figures, you need to show your research procedure. You need to show that at certain points you've got your what do you call that, assessor or panel evaluation. So you have a good diagram to show. That's why I said maximum 2 pages. But normally a page and a half the most. But if you've got illustration, that's why I said about 800 words plus illustrations. So when you write the methodology, guys, normally this is kind of easy to write. Why am I saying it's the easiest part to write in an article? Because how different can you describe quantitative research or qualitative research or mixed method or a case study? Why am I saying that? Normally, for Dr. Rafida, she would understand what I'm about to say. Normally, when we describe something which is fixed, basically the words are the same. The order of describing it is the same. So that is why it's very important that you become an avid reader before you can become a professional writer. So you know what to write in describing your methodology. If it's a mixed method, the first few sentences in that first paragraph of your methodology would be that, to describe that. And then describing quantitative or qualitative or mixed method, they are the same. You cannot be different. It is how you express it is different by using different words or vocabulary or introducing one fact first before the other. But basically, they're the same thing. So if I were to share with you, my experience of writing, even now, my strategy of writing, the methodology part is actually among the easiest to write. Yeah, because it's a quantitative, or it's a mixed method, or it's a case study. Describing it is normally the same. All right, that's why I said it's quite easy because the contents are predictable. There's population, the sampling, instruments, and also the analysis. And remember, you're not writing a PhD report here. It's just an article. All right, so you need to make it as concise as possible. Comprehensive, but yet concise. So comprehensive to what does it mean? Make sure you talk about the procedure. You mentioned about of course, the design first, and then the procedure, and then the instruments, how is it developed, and then the analysis. How are you going to analyze? And also, if you could also mention in a line or two, how credibility or trustworthiness, or in the case of quantitative, we say validity and reliability, how are they established? In a line or two, you mentioned that. All right. Remember, you're not with Viva, right? But you need to impress your audience so that they know, oh, this is there's credibility in the findings because it is reported that the Cronbach Alpha, or whatever test that you have. If it is quantitative, it is qualitative, trustworthiness is there. You observe and you exercise the steps in ensuring trustworthiness in qualitative data collection and analysis. Okay, moving on, the results and the findings. Now, we are already halfway through in our writing. So when we talk about results and findings, if this is a data-driven, this is the gist of your article. Selain literature review, people want also to look at your findings. That is why it will lead to your implication or rather in your conclusion later. So maximum, guys, maximum 3 pages. This is where you celebrate the article. This is where you celebrate the ideas that you want to put forth, so that the audience will be learning something from you. That you want to feel proud of yourself when you look at it. This is something, little contribution that I'm putting in this, discipline. I've got this article talking about. That's the newness, that's the originality, that's the novelty of your work. So that is why I'm suggesting could be the most write-up of your article, where you've got a maximum of 3 pages, about 1,200 to 1,500 words. Don't forget about introduction, where you've got the objectives, or you've already specified the question. Bring that objective or question again when you talk about the results and findings. Be simple. Okay, if you need to know, if I can share with you my experience, when it comes to the point where I need to write about results and findings, normally it's quite easy, because I don't have to be worried about making it what do you call that, bombastic. I don't need to, because it's the simplest language is the best when you describe your results and findings. You need to be simple, straight to the point, show a table, talk about the table. And when you talk about the table, in the table, for example, you've got mean score, don't talk about all the means, just identify the highest and the lowest, and if you've got a t-test, and then you would say that there is differences or no differences, significant between the two groups. So you just highlight that. You don't have to talk about every single item in that table, So the table is there for the audience to read, to see everything, but what's salient about that table? That's the one that we talk about in the short paragraph after the table. The table first, and then the text that describes the table. But then again, having said so, with a disclaimer, look at the format of the journal. Some journal, they prefer the text first, then comes the table. All right. But from my observation, normally it's the table first, then comes the text. But I have also seen some journals, they prefer the table first before the text, or rather the text first before the table. All right, so that's why I say study the requirement of the journal. Be simple, use tables and figures, and please, at certain points, because at the same time, I'm also an editor for some journals. When we read to review, sometimes it's kind of irritating to us to see that the authors were not meticulous in their work, in the sense that the numbering of the table salah, even the label of the title of the table salah, it shows that they were not meticulous before they submit. So guys, at this section of your article, when you've got tables or figures, if you need to number them accordingly. Figure 1, table 1, and then you've got figure 2, table 2, and then suddenly you've got figure 2 lagi sekali, padahal dah ada figure 2 kat atas. So that's what I mean. So please be mindful of the labeling and the format. Even format also, some journals have their way of formatting the table. They want the title centralized, other than the table left aligned, and stuff like that. So please, even the font size of the table title, or even the items in the columns, title to, they've got a certain size. Sometimes they say, okay, the title could be 11, font 11, but the table content, the size is 9. So please observe that. There are reasons why they have that, because they've got their structure to adhere to. Okay, finally we come to our conclusion. Guys, to my experience, and also my practice, is that maximum would be 2 pages of conclusion, maximum. But normally my write-up is just paling panjang pun, a page and a half, or 1 page would be enough. Why am I saying 1 page? It's about 400 to 800 words, because 1 page is 400 words, right? 2 pages would be 800 words. Remember your novelty. Remember what is it, and sometimes audience kita, they don't want to read the whole thing. They want to go to the conclusion, because they want to cite you based on your conclusion. So that is why when you write the conclusion, this would be the section of your article where you hope to be cited. What would be the concluding? All right, besides the findings in the results and the findings just now, would also be at your conclusion. So highlight the salient findings, justify, and this is where the literature review would come back. When you describe the theory just now, and when you describe the keyword just now, that will come back when you want to substantiate your salient findings. And of course, you need to provide implication. So what? Who could benefit? What can be done? So this is the section where you highlight the originality and the novelty of your work. So at this point of time, you have, in a way, almost completed your article writing, but it's not quite done yet unless we need to have an acknowledgement. Guys, with or without research grant, acknowledgement to me is a must. You must acknowledge the people who came to help you, the respondents, the university who gave you the time to go and collect the data, at least the respondents. You might also have an iterator. You might have a, if you use Delphi or fuzzy Delphi technique, you've got that panel of experts, right, to look at your instruments while you were developing the instrument. So these are the people that would, I would say, due, this acknowledgement would be due to them. So normally, acknowledgement is just very, very short. 3-liner, most is 4-liner, about 80 words, with or without grant, mention the funder, respondent, institution. And some journal, when, for example, you have 3 authors or 5 authors, some journal will say author 1 buat apa? Author 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the contributions of this author? I think I understand why they require for that, because they don't want to have people who just having their names there because they are the boss. And you need to put in your boss's name. Or they just letak nama kat situ because they happen to be a popular author. So you hope with her or his name there, your article would be accepted. So that is why, to maintain integrity of all the authors which are listed, there would be journals asking contribution of each author. Author 1 did what? Author 2, 3, 4, and whatnot. So that need to be mentioned. Some journals, and I'm not saying all journals. And of course, references, we need to follow the APA format, or refer to the journal's author guidelines. They have their guidelines. So my trick, when I did, to ensure that I did not miss, some people are using endnotes, you make sure that you don't miss it, okay lah, but otai like me, my style is always, when I write, whatever I write, I immediately put it in my reference list. But reference list too, kadang-kadang tak penuh, just the name of the author who I cited first, so that I don't miss it. And then when it is done, normally what I would do is that I will check, I will search. These names are also listed in my reference. Kan dekat document kita kan ada search kan. So search, tengok kat reference list, the name is there or not. If not, then you've missed that name in your reference list. Likewise, go to the reference list, make sure all those that you are cited, they appear in the text, because sometimes it could happen vice versa. The names appear in the text, it's not in the reference list. The names appear in the reference list, but it's not in the text. That's number 2 that I need to mention to you about references. Again, more on references is the fact that some journals are particular that you cannot have more than 20 references. You cannot have more than 25 references. If you have more, you can imagine the list of references would be longer than the article itself. Correct? So that is why you need to be mindful of the reference list. That's the last, but sometimes it can be the most headache, because you need to ensure that they are consistent with the text is consistent with the list, and they are not too long a list, because as if you're writing a PhD all over again. Okay, so far so good? Since there's no question from ID and there's a thumbs up, I will proceed. Okay.
Yes. So far, so good, Prof. I think we'll still waiting for the questions to come in, and I will ask one of the committees here to send me the questions later, Prof.
All right, great, awesome. Okay, I'm going to proceed to strategizing. Okay, now that you know how to strategize your writing, guys, let's talk about strategizing our publication. Now, remember earlier on, I talked about how important it is that we are readers ourselves before we become writers, right? So you need to sample relevant articles from several journals, So when you sample these articles from several journals, you will have a hang of it, on how to write your own article. So please observe and study the lingo and the discourse, and chunk your article writing. Remember earlier on, I talk about title, abstract, keywords, introduction, blah, 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 okay? So this is what I mean by chunking your article. I did also mention some of you are good at writing introduction, sequencing it like that. But some of you say, no, I think I'm going to start with conclusion, because the conclusion will inspire me on how to develop the article. Some people have that kind of, people think and process information differently, right? But some people would say, no, I think I'm going to write the methodology first, because that one is the easiest. So I've got at least you would at least 15% of your paper ready, you know, and you need to get that motivation. Something is written on methodology. That's number one, chunking the article. Another way of chunking the article is when there are 3 of you or 4 of you, and then you delegate. You know, when you are clear with the purpose of the objectives, you are clear on what is it that you want to highlight in your article. So then you say, okay, you're going to help this team by writing on the literature. Make sure these are the points that we need to have in the literature. You know, and maybe somebody say, okay, I will do the methodology and the conclusion. You know, or maybe the methodology 1% and the introduction and methodology 1%. Normally they're quite related, right? Introduction and methodology 1%. Literature review another %. Results and findings another %. And conclusion, either you guys 1% do it, but upon discussion with everyone, or the person who actually wrote the result could also write the conclusion. And the references is when everybody comes in together and share their list of references and make sure that they are all listed there. And that is how what I did also with my teammates when we wrote articles together. You know, sometimes yeah, I have to admit, sometimes I already have the article ready, but it is just very at the very, they call that raw quality. So what I do is that, for example, and Dr. Rafida can confirm this. Pete, I've got this article. Why don't you have a look? Ada tak idea nak tambah lagi? You know, and then she would put in some ideas in the literature review and whatnot. So the article becomes expanded and better in terms of quality. So you could also start like that. You've got a very raw first draft, you know. But to ensure that each and every one of your co-authors did say something, did do something in the article, you share that with them, and then they would like add here and there. You know, they can look at from the top to the beginning, and then they would add more. So that is something that you do. Why am I saying this? I'm actually touching on integrity. You know, when you put your names in the list of co-authors, you must make sure the co-authors have actually seen the paper, so that they could at least give some comments, not just give comments, have some lines that they have written also in that paper. Okay, all right, moving on. So co-write, I did mention this many times just now, yeah. So it's you know, one person writing the article is good, you know, good, but it is better when you have a co-author, because to the editor, to the journal editorial board, when you submit and there's just one person writing it, normally if you are a renowned the Sifu, you know, like Douglas H. Brown, dia buat seorang, dia okay lah kan. But suddenly Faiza Majid, you know, it's like, hey, who is this person? But then I did a few more that shows that there's teamwork, you know, so that's it's solidify the article when you know there are more than one brain working on that article. So please co-write, and what do? Get those writing buddies. You know, you need to work, because work with several people, at least to start, maybe 2 or 3 of you. All right, 2 or 3 of you, and then you need to study the publishing process with the journal. You know, how long does it take normally? How do you know this? When you read the articles which is published, they will say date of acceptance, date of correction, resubmission, date of publication. So you can say, oh, it's within 6 months, or it's within 3 months. You know, so that can be done. So then you can chart your milestone, right? First article for the year by when, second article of the year by when. And normally what I would do with my co-writers, also with my buddies, I did that also with Dr. Rafida, kan, Pete, where we take turns to become the main author. You know, the main author would have the most responsibility, but then we share. So what I'm trying to say is that if there are 3 of you who are who would be writing buddies, you can imagine that you're the 3 article. Can you imagine that? Everybody is the main author. Main author article 1, main author article 2, main author article 3. And the main author of article 1 becomes the co-author of the article 2 and 3. And you know what I mean, right? But as I say this, guys, please secure the integrity. Please observe integrity. Jangan suka-suka tidak nama without the person contributing. All right? So please be fair to yourself when you have written something. Make sure all the other 2 or 3 co-authors did write something there. Okay? Editing is not considered co-authorship. Yeah? Writing is sama-sama right. Okay? So study the publishing, I've already mentioned that, and target your journals. Now, guys, in UiTM, right? In UiTM, when you target your journals, nothing less than my site. Okay, nothing less than my site index journals. Then you move up a bit, ERA, Scopus or WOS. Okay, why am I saying this? I just learned recently that for, okay, sorry lah, I have to say this. Of course, I got to be passionate and we write because we love writing and bukan pasal nak capai KPI. But guys, don't you want to help you ITM? Don't you want to help you university, reputation university? So, and we need to play the game according to the rules. So the game, the rules of the game is that publication yang ERA, Scopus dan WOS sahaja would be relevant for MyRA, for that ranking tu lah ya, for the ranking indicator. So publication appearing in ERA, Scopus and WOS. I learned recently. It was a shock to me also to know that my site I might be wrong. You can double check that. So that's why I said go for ERA lah, Scopus or WOS. And my site memang ada. My site, all universities in Malaysia, their journals, inshallah, will be listed or indexed by my site, but not all will be indexed by ERA, Scopus, and WOS. So if I were to be you, if I were to advise this to you, you can start with my site because my site still ada what do you call that, contribution to the university. But to help universities' aspiration to be globally renowned, kan Datuk UC kita duk cakap GRU by 2025, right? So what do? The rule of the game is ERA, Scopus, or WOS. But to help also with the reputation of the university, my site pun okay. Faham ya? I hope I'm not confusing you. For global renowned university, it's ERA, Scopus, WS. But for my site pun membantu juga to the university, in terms of kita punya publication, number of publication, number of citation, so that is also very, very important. Your faculty, your cawangan needs this. So please don't be afraid to submit your article to my site. Okay, if you think you're tak confident lagi into ERA, Scopus, and WOS, I have a different opinion actually. Sebenarnya you never know. You could get your papers in ERA, Scopus, or WOS. Kalau you kata tak apalah, kita baru nak start, kita pergi my site je lah. My suggestion is that no, pergi terus WOS. Sebab banyak journals in WOS. Why are you not grabbing it? And then if you have been reading journals index in WOS, you think, I can also write like that. Topik dia something, apa yang so sangat nak submit paper dekat WOS? Tak ada grant pun. Bukanlah yang macam flagship journal tu kan, yang macam, in UiTM tak silap only 1% or 2% or 3% or less than 5% lah yang ada flagship journal publication. Itu memang really power, But to help our university, just because you thought you cannot do WOS, then you kata nak pergi kat my site sajalah. Nak fulfill, kita ni kena tulis satu paper, my site. Then you go, let's just do that. I would go back to that slide when I said be passionate, be excited, be comfortable, and this is second nature. It's more educated, isn't it? What are you an educator if you don't write? And yet you ask your students to write. Apa tu? You ask your students to buat assignment. You sendiri tak ada assignment. Submit your paper. Sorry lah if masa I sedikit kasar, but to me, I am actually, it's not to self, I'm reminding myself. Okay, next, moving on, is publish. Okay, avoid the pitfalls of being rejected. So how can we avoid being rejected? Remember just now I showed you the illustration from the ERA publication workshop done in my faculty about 1.5 months ago. So this is actually also somewhat similar, but I'm also adding on based on my experience. Number one, you need to observe the article format and structure plus the outline, the font size, spacing, headings, paragraphing. Yes, sometimes it can be very headaching, such technical. So, dia nak font 16 lah for the title, or for our name it's font 14. But then for the introduction it's font 11. For the content it's font 11. Title always 16, number 14. Sometimes I hafal dah, So, but when you are familiar with the journal, and then you follow the template. When you want to submit, normally when you go to the website, they would say download the template. My suggestion is download the template. So when you start writing, you are already within the relevant structure of the format. The font lah, the size lah, the type of font and whatnot. All right, and please submit complete paper. Don't be surprised. Ada orang saja suka-suka submit their paper yang tak complete. There's no journal, there's no conclusion, there's no references, just because dia dah ada sampai kat results. But then there's no conclusion and there's no references list. So don't waste the editorial board's time. They will reject it. They don't ask you to resubmit, terus reject you. So you don't want to be rejected, right? So make sure your paper is complete and the quality of the language. So guys, nasib baik kita ada Grammarly kan? So if you've got Grammarly can help you identify errors. They would highlight in red. So then you click on it, the Grammarly will help you improve the writing. But then again, at the end of the day, it also goes with the coherence and the cohesion of the whole article. So this is when maybe you could ask somebody who's good at language if you do not come from the language background. But since this is APB hosted, I can assume everybody is tak ada issue with language lah now. So hopefully lah ya, amongst you pun ada, maybe what you guys can do under your TREC research, ada in-house editors. I'm sure they would have done it because RMC pun ada INCA. We have in-house editors, kita ada proofreaders. Some specific names I could quote would be Prof. Azni, Datin Hajiba, your ex-dean, mantan dekan dulu EPB's dekan, Datin Hajiba, and Afni is in Seremban kan? Puan Afni, Cik Afni. So these are the people who you could rope in because it's their job to assist when it comes to proofreading and editing, And of course, remember earlier on I talked about identify the journal that you wanted, and the journal too, dia ada dia punya niche. So if you're writing on early childhood related to how to teach children, then you target lah the respective journal. Or you're teaching higher education or adult learners in the case of mine, so I'll be targeting the relevant journal. So, and do not, okay, this is very important. Do not submit to other journals when your journal is under review. That is actually integrity. It's your ethic. I would say it's ethic as an author. So you takut sini kan tak sampai, awal lagi dah tak tempat lain. So by right, you need to wait for the notification from the editor, accepted or not accepted. If it is not accepted, never mind, jangan patah hati. Dah ada manuscript, send it to a different journal. So that's the rule of the game. Do not get disappointed and give up easily. There are plenty of journals that you can try, submit your paper. But then remember, I have that asterisk there when I said all published. There's a little asterisk there simply because, guys, there are editors who will be emailing you. I have been receiving this a lot, okay? They can check something like this. We have the opportunity, or we have the pleasure of reading your article entitled blah blah blah, published in blah blah blah, and we discovered that this article is suitable in our journal. We would like to extend an invitation of you submitting an article to our that article to our journal. Now, kat sini, if you be asking me, boleh ke I dah submit paper ni, is published, can I resubmit to? Sebenarnya, quote unquote, boleh, with syarat you add 30% new stuff in that article. All right, maybe you add on the literature. Maybe you add on the justification of the findings. You not got conclusion kan? Maybe you add further implication. So when you do that, you have a readily published article. Suddenly another journal editor, they wrote to you asking you to submit to them that article, but they will advise you, but you need to do some addition lah, to the existing paper. So that is possible because it is the nature of the journal. But frankly speaking, I haven't done it because I like to have my articles totally different. Sebab I takut lah in the future suddenly the role of the game bertukar kan, it's like, then I said, okay, tak apa. But I'm just saying you, things like that happen, and there are legitimate editors yang write. But frankly speaking, guys, please be mindful. These people are also businessmen. They are making money out of the publication fees. All right, I'm going to talk about that in a while. So if you want to get some advice from me, do not get excited when you receive email saying that we saw your article and we thought that you could also write. So we welcome you to write. You ingat kan, they welcome you to write. You are invited kan. Suddenly keluar fees, publication fees, you need to pay so and so. That will be haunting you. So be mindful when you receive all these emails suggesting that you submit your paper to them. And normally they are really making business out of it. Yeah? So moving on, coming to our next subtopic, which is targeting our journal. All right, guys. So this is what I said earlier. When you need to meet the university's recognition, I said KPI recognition. You know, bukan KPI kita tak ada KPI. Kita suka menulis sebab we are educator. But we want to have university sayang to UiTM. We know the role of the game is to have citation tinggi, to have publication tinggi. So we contribute that. But we are doing it because bukan nak target tu. We are doing it because we love to write. But indirectly, by default, our passion tu membantu the university yang kita sayangi ini. So I want you to think like that. Don't write because it is KPI given to you. You write because you are passionate about writing. And by default, it helps the university. So start reading others' work, identify their journals, and observe how they write. And guys, UiTM besar. And we've got many seniors amongst us. So you need to have mentors and role models. Tak nak mentor, tak apalah, segan kan nak jumpa orang tu. Tapi dia role model lah, you observe dia daripada jauh. Oh, dia tulis kat mana? Mari kita baca artikel dia. Macam mana dia tulis artikel dia? Tengok Pak, tengok jurnal mana dia pergi. So, dia hantar artikel dia kat jurnal mana? Kita target jurnal tu jugalah. So, that's what I mean by you need to have mentors or role models. The authors could be local or could also be abroad. You know, if you've got you follow somebody from abroad. If you did start your studies abroad, then you know few people from abroad. So you might be following them, right? So you look at where do they publish their work. And then kalau tak nak pergi jauh sangat, malas lah tengok orang luar, nak tengok orang dalam, tak apa, tak ada masalah. Go to UiTM Expert. Go to UiTM Expert, that website, and then you carilah your idola you kan. Macam contoh, Dr. Hajibah, apa dia buat, mana dia tulis. Dr. Nur Hanim Rahmat from EPB kan, mana dia tulis, jurnal apa dia pergi. Then you, because in a way, she did it, you can do it. All right. So you've got few people who are very strong, prolific writers in your faculty in APB, right? So they are your role models. You already got role models there. So look at the articles that they send, and then you will study the journals, and then you will study how they write. If they could write, you guys are in the same faculty, why can't you do the same? My question. You know, you guys are all the same. Your expertise is sama. You know, membezakan adalah experience. So your shortcut to the experience that you observe the one terus. All right. So guys, when you do this, indirectly you also study the journal's publishing requirement. You terus nampak, begini how you write. This is how you put the table. This is how you label the table. Or you have the text first before the table. Or you have the table first before the text. Follow alam, you know, stuff like that. Okay, now this is a bit technical. So, how do you know which journal? Tadi I kata you look at the role model kan, or you have your mentor, right? So, another option is, one thing good about our PITAR, you know, Perpustakaan Tun Abdul Razak kita, is that they have the era list. Kalau tak tahu, I'm telling you now. I pun seorang boleh dapat tahu. So you go to, ni dia alamat dia, pitar.uitm.edu.my/era. You will have the list of journals indexed in era. So bila you isi dalam Prime, kan our coordinator need to validate, tak ada masalah, because they know dalam list, because you are submitting and publishing your article in the journal listed dekat PITAR. So check it out. If I may, nanti I share with you, I can end the screen to show you the website, but it's readily there. Scopus, check this out, right? Or for social sciences kan, kalau Scopus tu banyak kan. Social sciences, I assume most of us here are from social sciences background. You can have /social sciences/journals. So the list of the journals are there, pop, for you to choose from. All right, that is you kalau nak go the harder way lah. But the shorter way, as I said earlier, you cari role model you tengok mana dia publish, then you target that journal. All right, okay, but make sure it is era. Kalau dia ada role model, tapi role model pergi dekat jurnal-jurnal biasa je, not role model lah. So role model is somebody who actually published in the relevant journals, indexing that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so WOS, kalau yang I bagi tadi the link, right? The link that I gave to you just now. So you can check, oh sorry, WOS I tak sebut, sorry, tadi tu was Scopus and Eros Scopus. WOS is this one. You know, the HTTPS ni comment lah kan, mgl.clarivet.com/home. You will come to this. You will come to this page. You see nampak nama I, Pak Izzak Majid itu kan? Sebab I have registered. You need to register dengan Clarivet. Alright. So you can welcome Pak Izzak. Oh, pagi-pagi welcome Pak Izzak. So no. So what you can do, you already have a manuscript. Contoh you already have a manuscript. So you can actually match, find a match for your manuscript. Match your manuscript with the journal. So you boleh klik dekat sini. And what will happen is that they ask you to give the title, they ask you to give the keywords, and this page will ask you to upload your title, to key in your title, key in the keywords and the abstract. And dia akan roll, and then dia kata, these are the journals suitable for you to send your manuscript. That's another way. Alright, kata-kata nak ikut role model tadi, you want to become, katakan, oh, I've already followed her, I dah banyak juga journal kat situ. Something different, tapi di WS, we do this. And likewise, with, so this is what happens, bila you pergi dekat match your journal tadi kan, find your match manuscript tadi kan, this is what happen first. Akan pop up title, copy paste lah title, pop up abstract, copy paste your abstract, and then dia click kat sini find journals. Okay, so this is WS. Likewise with the others. This one is Springer. Okay, Springer, Wiley, Elsevier, semua sama. Sekarang dah senang, it's easier now. What you do is you go to the respective, you want journal suggester. Journal suggester, tadi match. This one, suggester. So same thing, they will ask you the title. They will ask, in fact, they ask you to upload your text here. And then they will ask you subject area. Please select area apa, ini education ke, ini chemistry ke, engineering ke, you know. And they then will senaraikan potential journal for you to submit. Tepuk dada tanya selera which one you want to submit to. Okay, clear? Good job. So sekarang ni, maybe some of you say, ini apa ni WSI, Scopus, Elsevier, apa benda ni? What's the difference? Okay, I pun have had the same question, just in case people will be asking me, senang aja. Saya pun Google lah, Mr. Google, source dia. So what do you mean by WS? Sometimes kita dengar kata, oh, is it ISI? And then you kata, tadi orang tu tanya WS, ini pula tanya ISI. Apa beza WS? You pun baru kepala kan? So WS versus ISI, what's the difference? Now, WOS is the product. ISI was the organization that used to produce the product. Makna kata ISI is the organization that own WOS. Make sense, ya? Tapi Thomson Reuters bought it from ISI. So that is why Clarivet, when we talk about WOS, the organization is Clarivet Analytics, owned by Thomson Reuters. Make sense? All right. So it is always WOS lah dalam kata lain. No? So kalau kata ISI ke WOS ke, actually they are referring to WOS because ISI is the organization. Okay, like the house lah. So this house has WOS journals. Okay, to WS dengan ISI pula, kadang-kadang kita pun confuse between Scopus and Elsevier, right? So Elsevier is the publisher and Scopus is the article database provided by Elsevier. Alright? Scopus tu, index in Scopus, apa Scopus? Scopus is the database. Okay, so when you say, I have a Scopus index journal, I have a Scopus index article, it is actually in a journal published by Elsevier. Dalam kata lain, how do I put it? Elsevier's journal, series of journal, they are Scopus index. So, don't worry about Elsevier. Bila orang kata Scopus tu, it is Scopus lah. But it is published by Elsevier. Alright, clear. Okay, good. So, to do and not to do. Dah nak hampir tamat ni insyaAllah. To do and not to do. Number one, let's see. To do. Please, if you haven't registered, you kena register dengan ORCID. ORCID ID kena ada, senang je. You know, you go to ORCID homepage, and then they will ask for your name, and then they will ask your institution, your affiliation, and then your address, email address, and then they will validate, and then terus you dapat OSIT ID. Less than 3 minutes. You must also have your Scopus ID. Pergilah dekat Elsevier tadi tu, so that you have your registration and you've got your Scopus. And then I did mention about find a mentor or get a mentor and or role model. Alright? Kalau role model tu dia tak tahu. Kalau mentor tu dia tahu. Mentor tu sometimes they work together with you. You know, you're working closely with them. And then, I said this even earlier, have your buddies, your writing buddies. Life is so blissful. Can be. Life is so blissful when you've got writing buddies. You bayangkan, if you don't have your writing buddies, you only have 1 article in 1 year. But when you have your writing buddies, you can have 3 articles in 1 year. Of course, you are the co-author in the other 2 lah, but you are a main in 1. Right? So be strategic about it. And let's form that community. Establish network. This is what I mean by having interfaculty or university. Inter-university, interfaculty. Sometimes you can, another case of me and Dr. Rafida. We've got friends from UKM. We've got friends from IIUM. And we invited them to co-write with us. So kan Dr. Rafida? And then when you hantar pada journal tengok, wah, authors dia UITM, UKM, UIA, begitu. So I'm sure you guys have friends who are teaching in a different university because they are educators, and to become a professional educators, they need to also write. Okay, I refuse to use the word KPI publication because to me, publication is teaching and learning. It's the professionalism of every educator. So get that friends and say, come on guys, don't you want to share your knowledge? Be excited about it. Enjoy it, have fun. Sometimes you have your retreat over the weekend, sleep over dekat UKM, apa nama tempat tu, Pakarunding Hotel tu kan, and enjoy eating together out. Second answer, you see, you have fun, at the same time, you do business. You have your friends, your me time with your friends, at the same time, you've got your article. I'm saying this because these are the things that we do, right, Dr. Rafida? Dr. Rafida is there. So you see, happy, gelak-gelak, ketawa, usahakan, suddenly keluar 1 article, and then suddenly there are 3-4 of us, keluar 3-4 articles, all right? And you need to start on these ideas. Whatever that I've been saying since 10 o'clock just now will just remain in the cloud, until you have it in physicality. Okay, not to do not copy paste. They are not stupid because they also have their turn it in or originality kind of a thing. They will detect. They immediately reject, when they notice the similarity. Do not plagiarize. This is the thing. When you have been writing several articles, and sometimes you get, I copy paste lah daripada article 5 years ago. Frankly speaking, I think you are risking your reputation, your own reputation as an educator. Walaupun you kata it's my article 5 years ago, so I copy paste the methodology. Deep down in your heart, ask yourself, is that ethical? Yes, it's your paper 5 years ago. Now you're coming up with another paper. Part methodology kan tadi kata is the easiest to write because it's quite templated, right? Copy paste saja lah, biji-biji kat situ. Don't do that. You could do that, but you need to beggar a bit. You need to amend, tambah sikit, corner sikit, tukar vocabulary, tukar transition, because basically you are to describe the same thing. Methodology is sama with that article you wrote 5 years ago, but you need to have the latest reference ke contohnya. You add a later reference to your citation to your text. Refuse if you refuse revision. Sometimes editor pulang balik kan, dia kata peer review, there are 3 of them who have looked at your paper and these are their comments. Please look at the comments and do the needful. But then you tengok, no lah, I disagree lah, I think it's okay to write like this. Or you refuse to do correction and then you hantar balik. Then they say you haven't done anything. Lillahi ta'ala, guys, do not argue with them. Because you want your paper to be published. They are to publish it's their role, who are you to test them? To reject that. So follow religiously the the suggestions given by the reviewers. Unless you thought dia punya komen tu salah. It happens, yeah, it happens. I have seen it myself. You know, they suggested something when I know it's actually jalan sesat. So what we need to do is when we resubmit, you ada justification. Thank you for this suggestion. However, I beg to differ due to this reason. Then you need to justify. So that makes you scholarly lah kan. Tak adalah kata no, I disagree, full stop. So if you disagree, you need to show why. Sebab
Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
I think I have a question here. I mean, like we already have a manuscript, right? And then we submitted to the journal, for example, and then the journal keep on like asking us to change the methodologies, but we already had the data. So what do you think on in terms of that? You know, because recently I submitted to this one Scopus journal, and then the reviewer keep on asking me to change the theory using the reviewer theory.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Sometimes you need to also consider that there might be a reason why. At one point, I want you to go back to the fact that is this paper of a poor quality that I got commented on my choice of theory and my choice of methodology. All right. So remember, yeah, we need to be humble. Tau. One thing I forgot to mention about that. We need to be humble. Actually, the third bullet, not to do refuse revision or correction. Sometimes the reviewer might have a reason why they kata it's better that you also refer to this theory. Mungkin theory that you are proposing to is irrelevant or maybe not fitting their journal. There must be reason. Unless you are clear, you know this is the best that you have done, you can justify. You resubmit. If that got rejected, tak apalah. Stand strong on your firm belief. Try another journal. Got it? I did?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, because you know, it keeps on, you know, I think I already withdraw that my manuscript to that journal because like we already had the data, and I believe that the theory that I used was like really good enough to just look at the you know the problems that I'm looking at, and then suddenly it keeps on like, you know, the reviewer I sort of like forced me to change the whole methodology, but the data is already there.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was like,
but then again, I did. If I were to be you, be mindful. Sometimes there's justice in their comments. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe your data. You need to look again at your data. You know, maybe they might be questioning the data, and then
Yeah.
you need to redo lah. Macam kalau kita vivates major correction lah. Like,
Yeah, major correction.
like you have to recollect the data. Maybe
Okay.
to them the data is insufficient, or maybe the data. And you must trust they are the reviews. They are the officially appointed reviewers to that journal. You know,
Okay.
so the whatever decisions they make, we have to honor. You know,
Okay.
if you are serious about publishing that manuscript of yours in that journal, if I were to be you, I will do the correction. If it
Okay.
means I have to recollect the data, I will recollect the data.
All right.
That is how serious I am in honoring the comments given by the reviewer.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you,
And
Prof.
no problem. Okay, and then next one not to do is to force yourself to write. Remember earlier when I said don't force yourself to write. Jangan. Don't write because you have to write. Write because you want to write. It's your passion. You are excited about it. Okay. Extra tips. Extra tips. All right. This is what I learned from the ERA publication workshop we had about a month and a half ago. Ya. Dia kata, aku baru tahu ni. Go for volume with many issues. Volume 18, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, you know. So assumingly you have seen dia punya volumes in the past and then think, oh, dia ada 6 issues. Why am I saying that? That shows your paper can be published within that year. Okay. Volume 2 by the year. Issues 2 within that year. Make sense? So kalau lah macam tadi I give you the example saying that you receive the email saying that, oh, you have been accepted, however it will be published in January, volume 19 issue 1. All right, so dia ada what do you call that, dia ada 4 issues saja because it's every 3 months. So dia kata it's March 2023. So that can be done. That could be avoided if you found a journal yang ada volume 18 tapi dia ada like 6 issues or 8 issues. Kalau 6 issues tu every 2 months. Kalau 8 issues tu every quarter week, every few weeks they have to issue. Alright, walau alam lah, pandai-pandai lah ya. And then your title must match the name of the journal. Alright, the name of the journal. And then your keywords reflect the journal's focus areas. You know, that's why it's very important that you have that title catchy, not just catchy to the audience, but catchy to the editor, to the board of editor. And the keywords reflect the journal focus area. You know, because one thing about this journal, to stay being indexed in Scopus, to stay being indexed in WOS or ERA, they need to make sure all the articles submitted are consistent with the purpose of the journal. So that is why one of the things that they need to do is to only take articles, to only publish articles that are fitting to their journals. So how could they confirm that? They look at the keywords, the title and the keywords. And I did also say this, study the reviewing process and time. Is it 3 months time? Is it 6 months time? How do you do this? How do you know this? You look at the published article, look at the submission date, reviewing date, acceptance date, publication date. You will see that then you can guess if it is your paper, how long will it take before the paper is published. And then of course, you study the ranking of the journal. Is it in Q1, Q2, Q3 or Q4? Okay guys, if you are to start writing, don't worry about the quartile. Hantar aja lah. Tak kisah ada Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Alright? So yang penting, you have shared your knowledge. Okay? So study so that ada extra info lah about the journal, you know, the impact factor, the IF of the journal, and then the Q1, Q2, 3 or 4. And then of course guys, before you submit, you confirm dulu article publishing fee, the APF. Sometimes dia tak last, kecil dia kat ujung tu. And you might be surprised, oh it's $800, it's $600, tak tahu berapa in ringgit Malaysia tu. Alright, so you need to also study the APF ya. Bukan AFP yeah.
Prof Ija, I have one. Can I just ask you one quick question, boleh ke? Okay.
Yeah.
I ada dengar this one comment lah from an author. I'm not sure whether this is good tips ke whatever. Tapi dia kata if you want to publish, let's say in this one journal, let's say journal A, and then make sure in your paper you have to have citations from that journal. Is that true?
Yes, that is
to make
true.
sure the possibility nak publish to is higher. Is it true?
Correct. That is true. That is true. I didn't mention it earlier. That is true.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that is why I stated earlier, you need to study the journal's requirement. In fact, masa kita study the requirement tu, author's guidelines kan, they will have in author's guideline. Some journals will spell it out. You need to have at least 2 citations from the previous publication of this journal. You know why? Because that is also another strategy for the journal to maintain their indexing, because that is what is required by WOS or Scopus or ERA. Some journals lah, not all. Yeah. So that's why it's very important that you read the author guidelines. So, but likewise, as I said earlier, had you been reading, had you been sampling relevant articles in certain journals, those would be the articles that you could cite in your work. Mestilah related to your field, right? So I don't think that is an issue. That can be done, tak ada masalah. But it is true. Some journals require you to cite previous articles from that journal. Okay. So this is the example that I promised you just now. Remember earlier on I talked about that meta-analysis tu? Meta-analysis kan? How can you write an article yang bukan data-driven tu? You see, dia pun ada methodology ni, nampak tak? The author has assembled 100 research rules of the game from her work over many years with doctoral students and early career researchers. So mana kata methodology dia adalah compilation of easily 100 work, or articles. By the end of the day, you see you got the title catchy kan? 100 research rules of the game. Wah, main game pula ni. How to make your research world class, how to successfully publish in top international reference journals. I purposely put this here because guys, carilah this article, read it, because it's telling you extra tips on how to publish. What you have heard from me is one thing lah, but you can learn more also from this one. This is, you see, received 25th July 2018, they accepted 30th July. But you know this guy, this person, Brandon ni is actually is a big name lah, you know, that's why dia seorang. Dan dia punya acceptance tu within the same month. 3 hari je beza. 5 hari. 5 hari je beza. Kalau Faizal Majid di situ lah. Kalau Faizal Majid mungkin kena ada a few names and then a couple of months. Alright. So you see it's the same thing. You need to have the purpose, you know, the methodology, the findings, the implications. Ni I kata tadi. That they ask for originality of value and then the keywords. Right. So this is one that you can check it out. You know? So on that note, I think I'm done here. We've got about some 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so for any discussion. So I'm gonna stop share this one and come back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Faiza. It is indeed enlightening and insightful. I think you have gained a lot of fans from YouTube live here. Yeah, and it started very slow, Prof. Dr. Faiza, just for you to know. It started slow. There's like numbers of viewers. Now we have like 140 viewers.
Alhamdulillah.
Here. I think you have inspired us with your talk just now, and I also have inspired from your talk. Because I'm still new, and then I'm a novice writer as well. So I think we are going to entertain few questions here from our YouTube channel, and of course in our Zoom meeting platform. I think the committees and the organizer might have a question. Also can unmute their microphone. Okay, all right, so maybe we can start with the first question. I think I'm just going to read from the YouTube, Prof?
Okay.
All right, so there's one question from Izzat Rahim here. As a novice writer, how is the best approach? How is best to approach mentors or prolific writers in our field to write or publish together? It's from YouTube.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that question. Give me the opportunity to give some suggestion.
Yeah.
To begin with, you need to know who. All right. How do you know who? You need to know your area. So when you know your area, you will be reading articles written within that area, and you will see the writers already there. Okay, so it starts with you being confirming what would be the area that you want to profess in. So if it is instruction or curriculum, you go to my site, UiTM my site, and the list of people will appear, and then you Google them and you read their articles. And this is the people that you can introduce yourself through email. And then you can share your phone number, and then you can say, I have read your work. I really like to work together with you. I've got some ideas on how to write a paper. So maybe we can do this together. And this is my phone number. So if this person is a prolific writer, he or she will not turn down your offer because, hey, that's another potential project publication. It's like another person who's excited about publishing. So that's the answer that is what I will do. First, you need to identify what's your research, what's your area, what would be the area that you want to profess in, right? And number two, you read some articles already written. Katakanlah you tak nak pergi jauh, you nak tengok UiTM experts. So who would be the people who've been writing on this area? And then you email him or her. And the moment you kata you have something to work on, you like to work together, the person is already an avid author, normally they akan turn down. In fact, they will open arms. It's a chance to learn together. I mean, as you know, I believe in you are only a teacher the moment you realize you're always a learner. There's always rooms to learn from everybody. Don't think that because you are matured, you are dah duduk sini 25 tahun, 30 tahun in YTM, you have nothing to learn from the young ones. No, I beg to differ. I'm sure many of us are also like that. Did I answer that question? I hope I did.
Yeah, I hope you answered the question. It answered your question, Mr. Izzat. All right, there's another question here, but I think comments are coming in, but there is no question, but they say that, you know, they say they are so inspired by you, Prof.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
They're like, indeed, they really want to have you again to talk about the publication and whatnot. Okay, and then there's one question from Ani Sophia from YouTube, I think. Yes, Ani Sophia asks, is acknowledgement part of the word account? Part
Oh,
of
no.
the word count?
No. The word counts until your conclusion.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there is it won't count in the journal, right? So
Yeah.
because the maximum of the count.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope it answered the questions there. I think you know Mr. Fazudi.
Oh, yes. My brother.
Yes.
Brother.
So he's commenting in YouTube channel here.
Uh-huh.
I think our phonetics and phonology
Oh,
lecturer in faculty education.
yeah.
All right, so he's asked, he mentioned here, Assalamualaikum Prof. Faiza, Fazudi here from Faculty of Education. In your slide, you have typed result and findings. Are they the same or are there differences between the two?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Fazudi, for that question. And I'm glad you brought it up so that I could also deliberate on this. I tend to forget to also mention that just now, right? So when you talk about results and findings, some journal, dia punya subtopic tu is discussions. They don't even say results and findings. Some journal, they have results and findings, you know. So why is it like that? Simply because it's that part of the article where you explore the salient findings and then you discuss. Macam kita kalau buat our master's dissertation or our PhD kan, kita ada chapter 5 for that, right? Chapter 4 and chapter 5. For the article, dia tak separate kan, they put together so that you could justify your salient findings together. That is what it says, discussions. You know, results too is actually the results lah. What did you get from the t-test? The t-test says that. So that's the result. Findings here, so that is the findings where you interpret the result. So that is why sometimes the subtopic is results and findings. So if this is a result, so what findings are you interpreting? What are you saying from these results? So that is what it means, yeah, Fazudi. I hope it's clear, and also to the rest. Results and findings tu maksudnya result tu as per, this is what the data is saying. But when you describe the findings, so that is when you justify with the theory, with the past findings, confirming, disconfirming, and then you put in justification. Remember the theories tadi, mungkin you masukkan cultural values as your base of interpretation. So that is why it's results and findings. Some articles dia tak nak result finding, dia kata discussion terus, just discussion where you put the results and the findings. Okay, Faz Yudi? I hope that answers.
I don't know whether he's still in our faculty, okay. Mr. Fazudi. Are you still in our faculty, Mr. Fazudi?
Oh, yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
He cannot be anywhere else but the Faculty of Education. Our phonetics and phonology sifu.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I'm a very I don't know. I couldn't.
But I did. If you want to know, Fazudi, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this.
Okay.
You said that you were my student 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Fazudi was my student 23 years ago.
Oh my god.
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 I dapat cucu kot dekat UiTM ni.
Oh my god. I don't know.
My own student produced student. So and that student produced another group of students. So
so I don't know, maybe in our YouTube live there will be a lot of Faculty of Education lecturers coming in to see your talk today.
I don't know, are they there?
I know. All right. I have another question. From I think from the organizer here. What are the things to consider in improving one's research paper for acceptance by high impact journals, Prof?
Okay, thank you. Number one is that you need to have some journals, they require international co-author. Makna kata bukan EPB Negeri Sembilan, 3-4 orang tu semua EPB Negeri Sembilan. You need to have somebody who's from different universities, from overseas, correct?
How about different how about from different institution, like from
Yeah,
different universities?
I was just about to come to that. So you could have co-writers who are from abroad. Abroad too can be over New Straits, apa? Malacca Straits, maksudnya from Indonesia. Tak payahlah pergi UK, US, okay? Antarabangsa tu Singapore, Brunei,
I see.
Padang, Universiti Surabaya dekat situ kan. International juga kan.
Yeah.
So you could have international. You could also have inter-university and inter-faculty. So that shows impact. Kenapa ya? When you want to go for Q1, and so normally if you read the author's guidelines, dia akan kata you need to have people from different faculty ataupun different university ataupun different from a different country. Why? Because it shows impact. That the paper is written from perspective that concerns an interdiscipline or a multi-context or international flavor is there.
All right.
So that suggests impact. So that would be how you can go to the Q1, Q2. That's number one.
Right.
Number two is actually the language. It has to go back to language lah. How can you have your people in Q1, Q2? It's actually language lah. The language needs to be at a level where it has high quality. So just read, as I said, sample some Q1, Q2 papers, and then you read them. No doubt you will bump into papers yang ada grammatical error, tapi it is justified by their content. Because the content, okay, lagi satu, the thing that you want to share in that article would be something which is relevant, which is related to SDG, which is related to IR 4.0, terutama SDG lah, talk about that, and then you have something that will relate to UNESCO punya policy, or something like that, or UNICEF punya policy. So these are global kan. So when these are global issues that you are addressing, not just because APB Negeri Sembilan, we've got the student with high achievers and low achievers in satu class. That's a common one in Negeri Sembilan. But if you address it from the perspective of a global yang something yang would attract the attention of people in organization like UNICEF or UNESCO tu, surely Q1 is your paper. In fact, boleh pergi flagship pun, that's my 2 cents lah. But frankly speaking, if I were to admit here, I sendiri pun tak sampai Q1 lagi. Paper I cakap terus terang, tak sampai lagi Q1. I do have several Scopus and WOS, but they are mostly at 3 and 2. 1, 2 tak lagi. Frankly speaking, I hope you jangan misinterpret me ya. If you recall, I said earlier, I am not into getting Q1 or Q2. I just want to share my experiences, my ideas, and get it published.
Yes.
But because I want it to be in a journal yang ada credibility, make sure it's index journal. So I go for that. And then I read as many as I can, as many articles as I can in a year. And I have that feel good feeling, If you target Q1 and then it takes you too long to submit to a Q1, you miss the opportunity of publishing as many in the journals that would be, what do you call that, able to publish your work. That's my 2 cents, Tapi terpulang lah, you memang ambitious and you want to go for Q1, go for it. I'm not stopping you, go for it. Don't worry. Thumbs up for that.
All right, thank you, Prof. I think
echoing sikit.
I have last question from YouTube. Our YouTube live had the viewer named Roy asks, "Hi Prof, how do you handle members who are no or least contribution in a working article submission, either to high or no index articles? Sometimes this problem happen to students or juniors, etc., etc."
Okay, how do we handle co-author yang tak contribute lah kan?
Yes, basically it's like that, Doctor. Prof.
Okay, if they tak contribute, I will ask this question. If this is my team, if the person tak contribute, my ethic, I'm questioning my ethic. Will I allow his or her name on that paper? So when I am the corresponding author, I submit to that journal, kan, the corresponding author, I will not put his or her name there. Tak kisahlah dia nak marah ke I ke apa ke, but then I stand firm on my ground saying that kita orang Islam kan, kita ada agama kan, mana you punya contribution. Fikir itu je lah. We talk about research ethics, we're talking about universal values. Tak kisahlah orang Islam ke bukan Islam ke.
Mm.
Be honest. You know, that's why I said, yang ini Dr. Rafidah can confirm, yeah. Sometimes, you know, you need to have your name, your friend's name there. It's only what do you call that? It's only fair for them that you show them the article. They need to read through that article. They would comment. Katakan dia kata, Ja, this is only a good paper lah. Kalau nak contribute tak banyak sangat. Sikit je lah I nak tambah sikit kat literature review. And then if you're happy with that, you know, at the end of the day, it goes with your acceptance of their contribution. And that is why some journals request list down author 1 buat apa, author 2 buat apa, author 3 buat apa. All right. So that helps actually. To me, when this journal requires the authors to list down what they have contributed in the write-up of the manuscript, that saves you a lot of trouble. All right. But if it doesn't, not all journals require that, then you as the main author kena be true to yourself lah. Because nanti people will be asking you. Then when you go contoh, if you did things incorrect or inappropriate from the beginning, it will haunt you later. You thought it will not. You thought it will just die down there, kan? Tak. Example, you go for your interview for promotion. And then the panel will ask you, oh, you've got very several papers here where you've written with this group of people. So can you explain, for example, what would this author, what had this author contributed? You know, that could be the answer from the panel. And how are you going to answer that? And that is you in an interview to ask for promotion in your career. So adakah promotion you berdasarkan benda yang haram atau benda yang halal? Allahu Akbar. I'm saying that to remind myself. All right?
To remind all of us here. All right, Prof.
Integrity and ethics. Yes.
Okay, Prof. So you mentioned just do not force yourself to write, right?
Right,
So someone, you know, and then there is like some of the comments say, oh, it's interesting. You say that do not force yourself to write. And then if that person don't like to write, how are you going to motivate them as an academician to write actually? And then maybe they would like, because I've read this one article in Facebook, you know, they put it like, once you write the law, you focus on the research writing, the university lost the soul of teaching and learning. So can you give your 2 cents or opinion on that? Because I've read that articles that, you know, it's not an article, it's a posting where you say that, okay, too many research to do. We are catching up for the KPIs and whatnot, and we are forcing ourselves. And you say that you don't have to force yourself to write, but you know, and yeah, what do you think about that? Your opinion?
Okay, thank you. I really like this question, and I think it's a good question towards the end of our sharing.
Yes. Yeah? This is the last question for you.
Okay. My 2 cents, yeah?
Yeah, 2 cents.
As I say this, I'm also reminding myself, you know, because I still have a few more years to serve UiTM, my university, which has taught me a lot. Now, guys, number 1, we need to be balanced. You cannot just be good in one aspect and then you profess only in that, and then people will recognize you only on that. To my mind, if you are an educator, you are a role model to your students. Do not call yourself an educator when your students don't see you as their role model. If you have not been seen as a role model by your students, I rasa lah, deep down in my heart, I think you are not a professional educator. If you are seen as a role model by your students, inshallah, you have been doing the right thing, number 1. And number 2, being an educator does not mean just go to class and teach. It comes with the fact that you must always come with the latest information. It must come with the fact that you are not telling them what you taught the students 5 years ago. Your slides still the same, your content still the same. And yet you are earning kenaikan gaji tiap-tiap tahun. Tapi content you macam 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So that is a simple question. So how do you ensure your teaching, your content that you teach or you preach to your student is actually relevant, up to date? That's why you need to read and you need to write. Being a teacher does not just mean talking. It also means writing. Okay, and to write, it also means reading. So that's why I rasa ramai kita ni terlupa bila kita jadi pensyarah ni, when we become an educator, we are not sole researcher. We teach. It begins with teaching, and in teaching has ingredients that require research.
Yeah.
You teach without research, you are actually just mesin yang bercakap. But when you teach with research, with new content, with up-to-dateness in your content, with living proof that you are also within the community that share and prosper on that knowledge, you are an educator. So that's why I say it's all about balance. Jangan kata I'm sibuk buat research, I tak ada masa untuk teaching. Then I say, what's the purpose of you doing that research? I nak tanya soalan ni pada orang yang kata, saya sibuk buat research lah, saya sampai tak ada masa nak fikir student saya. Then I said, then what's the purpose of you doing that research? You are here as an educator kan? Apa jawatan? Pensyarah. Pensyarah tu klien ni siapa? Student. Yang you buat research ni tak menjawab keperluan student, buat apa? Right? And then bila you mengajar kan, oh saya educator, I'm here because I love my student, I mengajar my student, I tahu yang mengajar student, I jaga student I je. I tak ada masa nak buat research. Then I will say, you bagi tak yang terbaik untuk your student? How do you know your content, knowledge you up to date? Kalau you tak buat research. Kalau you tak membaca dan you tak share, your kita ni jadi educator, kita ada academic freedom. You need to exercise your academic freedom. What is academic freedom? You ada ideas, you ada thoughts, and you need to share those ideas and thoughts. And how do you do that? You only teach your students yang 40 orang. But when you write, you're actually addressing a wider community.
General,
so fair,
to the public.
So that's my jawapan lah. You know, pada I balance. Research penting, teaching pun penting. Tapi deep down, it begins with teaching. In teaching itself requires research. And within research too, we have reading and writing. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. I think that will be our last question. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the end of the session. We'd like to say our thanks again to Prof. Dr. Faiza for sharing with us the best practices and the key elements of how to find way around in keeping our spirit high to do the research publications. I think all of us are glued in towards the screen, listening to your talk, Prof. Dr. Faiza. Thank you so much again for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. It has indeed a fruitful and opening eye session, I would say, for us. And then it is pleasure to have you here with us. With that marks the end of the webinar. I think I could not entertain to all the comments here coming in from YouTube Live, Dr. Prof. I think you can have a look later in our YouTube channel. They'll say like, I agree with you. Alhamdulillah, Doctor, thank you for the talk and everything. You are so, I mean, like, you have inspired them so much.
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for attending to the webinar today. Yes, before we end, I would just like to remind all the viewers in YouTube Live to fill in, yes, we have already posted the Google link form for the training hours for UITM staff, as well as you will be receiving e-certificate later on. I think, Prof, also you can fill in there later for your training hours as well. All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. All right, don't forget to fill in the Google form for your training hours for your item staff. Thank you so much, Prof. Okay, before we end the session, before we end the session, we want to take a photo, I think, and then I have a few WhatsApp coming on from our our WhatsApp group, Prof. I think because we are from Faculty of Education, TESOL, they're like, "Kin salam dekat Prof. Dr. Faiza, we miss her so much." And whatnot.
Waalaikumsalam.
And then some of them are lecturers in UITM Jengke, some of them in UITM Sabah, right? And then they're teachers. All right. So, All right, so wait, I'm going to turn off.
Can we invite you again next semester, Prof. Ijaz? There's a request here.
InsyaAllah. Kecil tapak tangan dulang saya tadah kan.
Oh. All right, so let's take a photo together. I think Izzat, are you ready? All right. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. So sorry, there's no coffee latte for you.
No, there'll be latte with you in the future.
Okay. Sure.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, Ija. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. The pleasure is mine.
again.
Thank you for inviting